Hello, hello, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Zoya Party Girls collection. This is going to be kind of a, I don't want to say review, because I feel like at this point there are so many videos covering this collection, so I don't want to necessarily call it a review, but what I'm going to be doing is kind of going over each of the colors, if I've worn them as manis. I've definitely swatched them all so I can give you kind of an opinion on, you know, the polish itself, but a majority of this is going to be kind of my opinion of the polish, whether I would recommend it or not, and then also a big part of this video is me giving you some color comparisons, because as I've mentioned in other videos, that is kind of what I look for when I'm going to buy a new collection. You know, I have so many polishes that I don't want to keep repeating myself. If I already have a red that is close to another red that is coming out, I don't necessarily want to buy it. So for me, when I'm looking at review type videos, what I am looking for are videos that kind of give me an idea of how the color looks, because I mean, you know, there's so many swatches in videos, and sometimes depending on lighting the color can vary, and so for me, when I'm looking at these types of things online, it's helpful for me to get an idea of what the color looks like, just so that, like I said, I don't have multiples of the same color in my collection. So what I've done is I have pulled some polishes out of my collection that I feel like are the closest, so either like dupes or polishes that I think kind of fall in between, so you can get a better idea of, you know, is this color more warm, is it more cool, you know, to kind of get a better idea of whether or not it's something that you need in your collection. So that's what we're going to be doing. Since this is a Zoya collection, and Zoya is, you know, a majority of the polishes I have in my collection. A majority of these that I'm going to compare them to are Zoyas, but there are maybe like 2 or 3 in here that are not Zoyas, but they're the closest in color that I could find, so I think that would still be helpful for you guys. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season, and that you've gotten some time off and, you know, are enjoying it with your families. That's what I've been doing. I've definitely been trying to kind of, you know, get ready for the new year and to try and, you know, recuperate a little bit. It's been a busy year for us. So yeah, so I hope you guys are having a great one. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've kind of arranged these from kind of lightest to darkest. So that's you know, the order that we're going to go in. So the first one out of this collection, excuse me, that we're going to talk about is Nadia. And Nadia is kind of like the topper of the collection, and I have seen folks be able to get this somewhat opaque, so you could wear this on its own if you wanted. This is an interesting kind of gold shimmer polish. It's got a little bit of an orange tint to it, so it's kind of a yellowy gold, but it does have some bronze kind of copper shimmers in there. So it definitely is not, it's an interesting polish. Now, I say it's a topper. When I wore this, when I swatched it, this is definitely more of a denser shimmer, so if you're gonna wear this as a topper, I feel like you need to be aware of the fact that this is probably gonna affect the way that the color looks, just because it's so dense. So it might change a little bit of the color, it might be a little bit more dense of a shimmer, so just keep that in mind if you are wearing this as a topper, but you could probably get this somewhat opaque in about 3 coats. You're definitely never gonna get it fully opaque, you're gonna see some nail line. But I think for those that, you know, aren't super strict about, you know, nail line, I think you probably could get this somewhat opaque as a manicure for you. This is, you know, not a color that I gravitate towards, so this is not my favorite in the collection. It's not something that I would wear normally, so it's an interesting color. I know this has been a favorite of some folks in this collection, so it is pretty, just not something that I would gravitate towards. So for those wanting to know, you know, where this kind of falls, I have said it's, you know, kind of like an orangey gold. So where does this kind of fall? So I'm going to first compare it. The closest thing I had in my collection is going to be Harvest Moon from China Glaze. And as you can see here, you can definitely kind of see the orange in Nadia here. Harvest Moon is definitely more of a kind of this is also kind of like a yellowy, kind of an orangey gold, but this you can definitely see has a little bit more orange to it. There in the viewfinder here, this is looking a lot more orange, but in real life, I feel like these are pretty close. And so if you're into these colors, I'd probably recommend Harvest Moon. just because, like I said, I don't know, as a topper, I'm just kind of like, I feel like this is too dense to wear as a topper. So if you're wearing this as a full mani, I feel like you might as well just buy Harvest Moon, because I feel like Harvest Moon, you can definitely get opaque in 2 coats, and the formula is a lot nicer. So yeah, so that is Nadia up against Harvest Moon, and then the closest Zoya that I had in my collection, and definitely not a dupe by any means, but you can kind of get an idea of the orange in this. This is Zoya's, sorry, this is Autumn, and Autumn is definitely like an orangey red, so you can definitely see that these are not dupes, but you can get a little bit of the orangey tone here from Nadia having it up against Autumn. So that's kind of where it falls. It's kind of in the middle here of a just kind of orangey gold. Let me see if I can get them all up here with my fingers. So there you go. Okay, sorry, we had to move the camera a little bit because we've got some daylight sun coming in. I'm filming in the morning, so the lighting might get a little weird here for the little bit. I've had to start filming in the morning because now that daylight savings is here, I can't film in the evening anymore because by the time I get home from work, it is already dark out. So I've had to kind of adjust my filming schedule, which is why you're not seeing as many videos from me. I've had to start filming my videos on the weekends, and then I also try and swatch sometimes on the weekends. But I'm also busy on the weekends because it's the only 2 days I have off from the week. So that is why my filming schedule's been a little weird. This is the first time I've tried filming in the morning, so I'm not used to like this morning sun coming in, and I don't know how. I'm hoping these color comparisons are gonna be showing up. I won't be able to see. I mean, I can kind of see here in the viewfinder, but I'm not gonna be able to see entirely until we get to like the editing process. So I'm hoping that these color comparisons are still accurate for you guys. Like I said, just because I'm using a different, you know, different time of daylight. So anyway, next polish that we're going to be talking about is Solstice. And Solstice is, it's an interesting like orangey pink. It's definitely leans very heavily pink, but it does have almost like a salmony pink quality to it. And it's got this gold shimmer that runs throughout it. It's very pretty. Not necessarily a color that I am going to gravitate towards. I just don't wear a lot of, I wear salmony pinks, but more of like the lighter kind of paler pink side. This sort of pink is just not something that I wear very often, although this has been a favorite of folks so far in the collection. So that is Solstice. So how this compares to some other pinks, the closest thing that I could find in my collection, and keeping in mind that I don't wear colors like this very often, so this is probably not a color I have replicated very much in my collection, but the closest thing that I have is this is Zoya's Yana. And Yana, as you can see, is a lot more of a pink. This kind of gives you I feel like the viewfinder might be making this one like a smidge darker, so you can see here from the fingernail shot that they're somewhat close. I think this, I think Yana here just kind of is just a slightly bit more pink, definitely a little bit more orange on Solstice. The shimmers in these are a little bit different. Yana has a kind of pearlescent finish to it, whereas Solstice has just like a shimmer type finish, or a pearlescent shimmer and then just like a shimmer. So I think these are pretty. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but Yana's, if I ever want to wear these types of colors, like Yana is what I'm gonna pull for. This formula also was a little bit thin, so just like I said, it's pretty. It's just not something I'm gonna pull all the time. And then the other color I will compare this against is Zoya's Dixie. And again, let me put all 3 of them up here so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here. So Dixie is a little bit more of like a watermelon, like a watermelon pink. So it's a little bit lighter. So hopefully that'll kind of give you an idea. Solstice is an interesting color. I just, I don't know if those are, like I said, these are just not colors that I wear often, so I don't have a whole lot of these in my collection, but hopefully that'll give you an idea. It's just a little bit more of a darker pink with just like a slight bit of orange in it. So that is Solstice. And also that's a weird color for the fall time. I feel like this collection was interesting because they had a lot of different polish colors that you don't necessarily want to wear in the wintertime, or at least for those that do seasonal colors. So Another one of those weird colors that showed up in this collection is Zoya's Kelsey. And Kelsey's kind of your Barbie pink. It's cool. It's kind of a mid-tone pink, but it still leans on the cool side. This was actually really nice. It's not a pink that I wear pinks aren't something that I wear all the time, but this was actually a really nice formula, one coat, and I actually didn't hate it, which was surprising. So this is a really pretty pink. If you're into pinks or if you're needing one for your collection, I think this was a really nice one. Not necessarily something I'm gonna wear in the winter time, but I thought this was an actually really nice pink to add to my collection. Since I don't wear pinks, medium toned pinks that often, I didn't really have any Zoyas that are super close. So the one that I had in my collection that was somewhat close to this is China Glaze all pink to that. And these are pretty close from, I think the China Glaze is just slightly, has a little bit more of a brightness to it. So it's a little bit more of like neon-esque, I would say. But the color's pretty on point. They're pretty close in color. I just think that the China Glaze has just a bit more of like a summery kind of bright quality to it. But that's the closest thing that I can give you for color. For Zoya's, I think the closest thing in my collection is Zoya's Lola. No, I shouldn't even say closest in color, but like the closest thing that I have in color is Zoya's Lola. And that should give you a good idea of how deeper of a pink this is. Lola is definitely like more of like Zoya's version of a neon pink. So yeah, that's up against Lola. I will show you all three here if I can figure out how my fingers work. All right, so there you go. That'll give you an idea of how deep of a pink that is. This is really pretty. If you, like I said, this was actually, I really enjoyed this pink. So that was definitely one of my favorites in the collection. Don't know if it's like, I don't wear pink that often, but I think this is gonna be a nice one to add because I really thought the formula was nice. All right. So getting on to some of these darker colors. So I would say this is probably one of my favorites out of the collection, and this is Zoya's Danielle, and I featured this in one of my, I think in my Manny's video last month, and the color was a little off in that video, so I'm hoping this, in the viewfinder, this looks like it's showing up a little bit more true to color, but this is an interesting, like, this is basically the definition of a blurple. It's, looking in the bottle, to me, this leaned very heavily purple, but as soon as I put it on the nails, I was like, oh, this is definitely a blue. So this is very much a shapeshifter. It can kind of go either way depending on what lighting you're looking in. For me, I think this, I find this to be more blue than it is purple. But it still just rides the line right in the middle. This is definitely a beautiful, beautiful color. Not something that I found I had a whole lot of in my collection for Zoya. The closest thing that I had for color is, this is Zoya's Alice. And as you'll see, Alice is a pixie dust, so the finish obviously is not going to be the same, but I think for color comparisons, these are pretty close. And you will see here how much, this obviously is, Danielle is a lot more blue than Alice, so that's why I say I feel like, even though it's a blurple, I think it leans just slightly on the bluer side, because Alice is definitely like a purpley blurple. So that is Danielle up against Alice. And then for, to give you an idea of like how blue it is, this is from Floss Gloss. This is called El Capitan, and that should give you, I hate when people like cover their bottles with like so much crap that you can't see the actual color in the bottle. So El Capitan is kind of just your like royal blue, like just a tad bit of purple in it. So you can see here, looking at these two up against each other, this definitely shows that Danielle's got a little bit of a purple, even a little bit of like a dusty quality to it. So with all three up against each other, that'll kind of give you an idea of where it kind of falls, just kind of right in the middle. It's just like a little bit slightly purple, but a little bit slightly blue. And I just thought the formula on this is wonderful. One coat, gorgeous, gorgeous color. So definitely, I would say definitely one of my top two. I might even say it's probably, oh my gosh, this lighting is going to be ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'll put the blind down in a second when I'm done. But so yeah, Danielle is definitely probably my top favorite here in the collection. All right, so this video is kind of all over the place. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film in the mornings because now that I got the shade down a little bit further, but I feel like now the lighting is a lot different. But Anyway, we're gonna try and make it through this video. So when I first initially saw this collection, Danielle obviously stood out to me as like, that's, you know, that's a color that hang on, there we go. That's definitely a color that I need to have. And this was also the one in the collection that I thought I was going to, or that I was, you know, this is one of the ones where I was kind of intrigued and kind of wanted to, you know, see what it looked like. And this is Zoya's Tawny. I don't know why I'm saying Zoya. We all know it's Zoya. And Tawny, like I said, like this one just kind of intrigued me because it's just interesting. When I saw it in the PR, you know, PR shots, this kind of just looked like a, what's the word? Like rose gold type feel. And it's gorgeous in the bottle. It's this like, kind of like coppery, it doesn't really make sense, but it's like this, kind of orangey coppery red, with gold shimmer that runs throughout. And it's really, really pretty in the bottle. Unfortunately, I was very underwhelmed by this when I got it on the nail. Once I got it on the nail, it just, you know, it kind of, and as you'll see here, it just reminds me of other colors that I already have in my collection. So it just didn't, the color that's in the bottle here just didn't really translate to what I thought it was going to be in the bottle. I thought it was going to be more, I don't know, I was very underwhelmed with this. It just wasn't as pretty as I was anticipating it to be. So that is Tawny. For your color comparisons. I think, let's see here. So this is Channing. And Channing, obviously a lot more orange, but the finishes with the, I think they both have that kind of, I'd say, they're both gold, but I think Channing's got a little bit more of like a finerly milled gold shimmer that runs throughout, and it's a little bit more intense than the one that's in Tawny. But just to give you an idea of like how red that is Channing up against Tawny. I'm hoping this is showing, I can't really tell in the viewfinder how well this lighting is going to be, so I'm hoping I'm not going to have to scrap this entire thing. So yeah, so that is, you know, a lot more red than Channing. I don't know if I compared this one on the nail with Tawny, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyway. This is what Autumn, which I showed earlier, up against Nadia. Again, just a lot more orange. I don't think I really have any, like, I couldn't really find any reds to compare this to. I just felt like these were a lot more of a closer, you know, closer in color. So it's definitely got a lot of red in it, but I don't know, when you get it on the nail, it's just it was very underwhelming. I wasn't, and I think I wore this in a video, I want to say like, was it November Manis? I want to say, or was it my December one? I think I wore it last month. I think it was in my video, or my last month manicures. Anyway, I wore this on my nails if you're interested in kind of seeing it in action. Yeah, just kind of underwhelmed. I wasn't super excited about that one. And so now we're getting into the reds of the collection. So there were two reds that were released in this collection, and one is, let's see here, one is Ming, and the other is Sherry. And that way you can kind of get an idea of what they look like, because they both kind of looked similar when you got them, but up against each other you can definitely see the color difference. Ming is just more of a, you know, cooler toned, bright, kind of Christmas red, and Sherry over here on the right is just a, you know, kind of darker, more vampy red. And these have a little bit more of like a jelly consistency, so two coats, they are opaque, but you know, it's got that kind of squishy quality to it. So for those that like fully opaque manicures, I don't know if you're gonna love these. I actually enjoyed these. I don't have a lot of jellies in my collection, so I've only worn Ming as a manicure so far, but I actually didn't mind the jelly consistencies. I thought they kind of just, you know, made the polishes a little bit more interesting on the nail. So that is what they look like up against each other. If you want to get an idea of how red Ming, I know, like, you know, all these reds can start to kind of blend together after a while. So to get an idea of how red you're going to be getting, you know, you're going to be dealing with Ming. This is it up against Zoya's Janel, which is one of my favorites in the collection. It's a little bit more of like a brickier red. So that is those there. Definitely a lot brighter. Up against Janel, very pretty. So yeah, I actually didn't really have too much in my collection that was as bright as this, so that was nice. And I actually, again, like I said, I really enjoyed this formula on Ming, so very pleasantly surprised on that. And then for Sheri, I did have a relatively close polish. This is Zoya's Rehka. And Rehka is just slightly more, what are you doing here, camera? There we go. Just slightly, a little bit lighter than Sheri. So there you go, up against that. So I think these are pretty close in, and you know, they look a little bit different here in the bottle, but I think, I swatched these quite a long time ago, but I think based on the nail swatch, I think they're pretty close enough to where I don't think you need both. And so I think just depending on the type of polish you like, Rehka is going to be, you know, a little bit more of a cream, you know, opaque polish, whereas, like I said, this has more of a jelly finish. So that might give you an idea of, like, you know, where you want to go with that. If you want to get an idea, again, I already showed this up against, and I think I showed this in the nail swatch, but this is Sheri up against Janel, up against, no, I want Ming. Where did Ming go? There you go. So that's all three. Ming is here on the left-hand side, and you got Sheri over here on the right, and that's Janel in the middle, so that'll give you an idea of, like, you know, your reds. But these were really pretty. If you're needing some reds, I thought these were nice. It just depends on whether or not you like jelly finishes. Okay. And then the next one in the collection that has been kind of a favorite is Fallon. And Fallon is this interesting, like, magenta kind of reddish pink with this really pretty kind of like pink like pearlescent shimmer that runs throughout. It's really pretty. It's just, again, it's not a color that I gravitate towards, so I was a little, you know, I put it on and I was just kind of like, oh, this is pretty. It's just not something that I'm gonna pull all the time. It's just not something I wear a lot. Definitely holiday appropriate. I think this is, you know, like I said, I think this is a pretty color, just it's not something I'm gonna personally wear. So for color comparisons, and I don't have a whole lot in my collection because, as I just mentioned, I don't wear these a lot. This is Cirque's Bond Street, and so not the same kind of finish, but for color comparison, you'll see here that Fallon has just a little bit more of like a berry to it, a little bit more purple, so it kind of falls right there. And then the Zoya that I can compare this to is Vanessa. And Vanessa is just slightly more red. And neither of these have, you know, neither of these comparisons have any, you know, shimmer. So, you know, keep that in mind. I'm just kind of giving you an idea for color comparison. So that's all three of them up against each other. So it kind of falls in the middle. It's not as, you know, pink as the Bond Street, but it's definitely not as red as Vanessa here. So it kind of just falls in the middle of just, I don't know if you even know if that's magenta, because I don't know. Did I say fuchsia? Fuchsia's, I don't know the difference. I really should look that up, but I don't. But yeah, it's just that kind of like reddishy purple. So if you're into those, I think this was a really nice formula, but yeah, just not something that I gravitate towards. So that is Fallon. And now moving into the dark colors, this was kind of the sleeper hit for me out of the collection. This is Zoya's Landon. And when I first looked at it, I just figured it was just your normal kind of, you know, mid-tone, slightly dark purple. And I was just like, I bet I have a bunch of these in my collection. I've kind of run the gamut with purples, but I actually didn't have a purple that was close enough to this. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. And the formula, again, one coat, gorgeous. It ended up being more of like an eggplant purple. So a lot more warm tone than I had initially thought. So I was pleasantly surprised with this. So to give you an idea of like where in the purple spectrum this falls in, I'm gonna show you up against, this is Zoya's Malia on the left-hand side. And that'll show you a lot of how warm this purple is. And then up against, this is Zoya's Tara. And so that'll give you, again, an idea of like, it's definitely a mid-tone purple, but like I said, it's a little bit it leans like in the eggplant color, so it's definitely got a little bit of red in it, a little bit warm, but it's definitely not super warm as it is over here with Tara. So I was pleasantly surprised with this. I thought this was a really nice color. I was glad that I didn't already have something in my collection. Whenever I can find a purple that I don't, you know, I can't dupe in my collection, I'm always pleasantly surprised. So definitely, you know, a color I would highly recommend if you like purples or if you are in need of a good purple. Landon was definitely a good one. Okay, so the other one that I was excited about in this collection is Zoya's Delaney. Oh, I say Zoya. Is Delaney. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on the camera, but Delaney in the bottle is just insane. It's this gorgeous kind of cool toned purple with this gorgeous kind of blue duochrome that runs along the sides of the bottle. And this just looks beautiful in the bottle. Unfortunately, on the nail, you don't get that blue duochrome. It just kind of comes up with this like purple, which is pretty. You know, it's a nice bright on the nail purple, but for me, when I have so many purples in my collection, this just kind of, when that blue didn't show up, and I don't know if I can get the blue to show up just because the lighting today is just being really obnoxious, but you know, the blue that is in the bottle when you see this is just so amazing, and it just, the way that the two colors kind of interact is just insane. But you just don't get that, you know, that interaction on the nail, and I was really, really sad and disappointed because I'm always excited to get new color combinations when it comes to duochromes. So sadly, this I would not call a duochrome. It's a little bit deceiving in the bottle, so I would not purchase this. If you're wanting a duochrome, I would not recommend this. If you're into like metallics and you want something, you know, I feel like maybe the blue kind of gives, can I get it in the light here? And I feel like, I don't know if that's gonna show, but you know, the blue might help the purple on the nail kind of brighten it up and make it look a little bit, you know, give it a little bit of something extra, but you're just not gonna get that blue, you know, that blue shift anytime it's on the nail. So sadly, I was really disappointed in this. If you want to compare it, the other duochrome I have from Zoya is Key. And Key, I thought these were going to be a lot more close in real life, but they actually weren't. Key has a little bit more of like a blackened quality to it, so it's more of like a blackened purple. And so it's a little bit deeper on the nail, but the reason I prefer Key is that you can actually get a little bit of a duochrome. I mean, this is never going to be an indie duochrome where the shift is just insane. I mean, the shift in Key is a little bit more subdued. It's more of like an oil slick, so it's never going to be like a drastic change, but I do enjoy Key. Key shifts to, it's a black and purple, but it's got some like tealish qualities to it. So like I said, just like an oil slick, where like if you see the oil in the sunlight, it's got like that bluish kind of greenish, pinky-ish kind of tint to it. That's basically what Key is. And so you can actually kind of get that on the nail. Whereas, like I said, Delaney, you're just never going to get that. Although, I mean, but the purple in Delaney is really pretty. So if you don't have a whole lot of purples, I would say this purple could be something you might like, but I would definitely not buy this if you're wanting the duochrome because you're never going to see it. So, getting there, almost done. One of the last two, this is Isadora. And Isadora in the bottle, again, gorgeous. It's this, again, I don't know the difference, but this is kind of like a purpley pink, and it's got this really pretty, so let's see, it's kind of it's a reddish purple that leans way more on the purple side, and it's got this, purple shimmer that runs throughout. Again, my lighting blows today. Maybe I can get some of it. Really gorgeous in the bottle. I think like this just looks really pretty. On the nail, I was just a little underwhelmed. I'd like to try and wear this as a manicure and see what I think, because I think some other people, when I saw their swatches, I liked it a lot more than I did when I swatched it. So maybe as a manicure, I might enjoy this a little bit more. Yeah, the shimmer in this is really, really pretty. It just didn't translate as well to the nail as I remember when I swatched it, and unfortunately I swatched it like a while ago, and I just remember not being that excited about it. But this looks super pretty in the bottle, so again, I'm going to try and wear it as a manicure, and hopefully I might end up liking it a little bit more. And then for comparison purposes, and the reason I probably don't like it as much is because this is up against Zoya's Haven. Zoya's Haven is just like one of my favorite colors of all time. So whenever I get colors like this, I just automatically compare it to Haven, and you know, the color's a little bit different. Obviously, you know, Haven's going to be a little bit more warm toned. Haven's more of a metallic, whereas Isadora's got more of a shimmer to it. But I just, you know, if I'm going to ever pull, what are you doing, cat? Hey. He's like chewing my window thing. What is wrong with you? You are so weird. But yeah, so, you know, I mean, they're not close enough to be dupes. I think you could probably have both in your collection, but it's just, I mean, whenever I want to wear something like this, I'm going to pull Haven. I just like Haven way more. And it always seems to win out against others that I buy that are kind of like this. So I may, like I said, I'm going to wear this as a manicure and hopefully maybe it'll earn its place in the collection, but unfortunately I was a little underwhelmed with it. So that is Isadora. And then our last color out of the collection is going to be Blake. And Blake is a very, very dark, basically black on the nail, navy blue with this really pretty gold shimmer that runs throughout, which I don't know if we're going to get because, again, this lighting blows and I don't know if you're going to catch any of that. But that will just tell you that this shimmer is barely noticeable on the nail. I really wish I could get this to be one coat. Because when you do the first coat of this, you can definitely see the navy on the nail, but unfortunately it's just a tad bit thin, so you definitely need 2 coats. And then once you put that second coat on, it basically turns black. And unless you're in really, really, you know, direct sunlight, you just never see that shimmer. And you can kind of see that shimmer a little bit at the 1 coat mark. So I'm wondering, you know, if one day I can get like a thick enough coat to where I could just wear this with 1 coat and you can kind of see the navy, because as I've mentioned in other videos, I don't care for nail polishes that, you know, almost look black on the nail. To me, it just seems pointless. I got like the sun coming in like right here and I wish I could like hit it up against the bottle to let you guys see that shimmer, but I think that just kind of, you know, speaks to my point of this is the color you're gonna see on the nail like 99% of the time, and it just looks like a basic black. I didn't hate this as much as I thought I was, just because, you know, as soon as I saw it and I heard reviews, I'm just basically like, oh, it's a black on the nail. I didn't hate it as much as I do other colors like this, just because I think if I play with it, I might be able to get this opaque in 1 coat, or if I maybe like layer it under something else. I don't know. I want to kind of play with it because I think this color is nice. It's not as deep. You know, like I said, you can definitely see the blue on 1 coat, but if you have to do 2 coats, I don't see the point. It just turns black to me. So I didn't care for this. If you want to get an idea of how black this is it up against Zoya's Willa, which is the black that I have in my collection. And I think you can kind of see a little bit of the blue there in the viewfinder, but it is super, super dark, and you can't even see, there you go, you can kind of see a little bit of the shimmer there that's in it. But yeah, it's so, so dark. And then I'll show you up against the blue that just recently came out from Zoya in the fall time. This is Hadley, and Hadley is, again, kind of that deepened blue that looks almost black, but it's got an aqua kind of teal quality to it, so it is slightly lighter than Blake, so you can kind of get a little bit more blue, but Hadley also looks black on the nail, so it's, I don't like these types of colors. I want to be able to enjoy my nail polish. I don't want to have to be in the sunlight and be like, oh, there's my nail polish, so these always seem kind of underwhelming to me. All right, and that is everything. So as you can kind of tell, I was a little underwhelmed with this collection. I mean, it's colors that I just don't, you know, it's colors I don't wear all the time. I don't wear a lot of reds. I don't wear a lot of pinks. Although the reds in the collection were really nice. That pink in the collection was really nice. Some of those kind of in-between, like, just some of the colors I was a little underwhelmed. You know, Tawny, Delaney. I wanted to love all of those colors, and I just put them on the nail and was just kind of meh. So, and I mean, that kind of is normal with winter collections. I'm usually never that excited about winter collections, just because those types of colors are not stuff that I usually gravitate towards. So I wasn't expecting too much, but I also wasn't that excited. So for recommendations, I definitely recommend Danielle. I think that would be a crowd favorite. Yeah, I think most people would kind of love that like purpley blue. I also was really surprised by Landon. I thought that was a really, really nice kind of glossy, warm, slightly warm. It kind of was like a neutral, it was like a little bit warm, but like it still wasn't like super red tone. So I thought that was a really nice purple. And then I think I haven't worn, and then the reds, I think Ming was really pretty. If you either wear a lot of reds or you need one, I thought Ming was nice. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't terribly disappointed, but I always just want a little bit more when it comes to, I don't know, the last couple collections from Zoya have been a little bit kind of just like, meh. I don't know. So maybe it's just because I'm getting into indies now, and so I realize like how nice nail polishes could be. And then, you know, Zoya comes out with just kind of like your basic collection, and I'm just a little bit underwhelmed. So that's that. I hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope this lighting, when I get it into editing, I hope this lighting isn't terrible. I don't think I'm gonna be able to film in the mornings because this just doesn't seem like it's gonna be suitable for like color comparison purposes, because I felt like looking at the viewfinder that wasn't super well, but we'll see how that goes. But thank you for watching. Hopefully I can get some kind of filming, you know, filming schedule in order, because I want to get more videos out. I've just been super frustrated with, you know, trying to figure out when to film and when to swatch and when to get the rest of my life in order, because I really love making these videos. I just, I run out of time in the day, and I just don't, I don't really want to invest in a bunch of like, you know, background lights, and then I have to worry about like, is the color gonna be accurate? I just like to, you know, I just want to film with daylight. I don't want to make a big production out of this. You know, I just like sitting here talking to you guys about nail polish. I don't want this to become like a big thing of like background lights and, you know, all that meh. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna try and get some more videos out for you guys, but as I mentioned, I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season and you have a great new year. What did you guys think of the winter collection? Oh, and also I will mention, if I did not compare, if you're thinking about one of the colors in this collection and I didn't compare it to something and you're interested, you can let me know in the bottom bar. I'd be happy to maybe do a comparison shot maybe on like my Instagram or something like that, so that way you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like up against another color if I happen to have it in my collection. So let me know if you're interested in that. But yeah, what do you guys think of the winter collections as a whole? Did you like this Zoya one? You know, what are your thoughts? I want to know, because I feel like a lot of people have had the same kind of feeling with these winter collections. They're just kind of, you know, they are what they are, but you know, nothing really to write home about. So I'm gonna finish blabbing, because I feel like this video is gonna be 30 minutes long as per usual. But I hope you guys are having a great one, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.